Oh, that's right, she gave too much. Shift around.
I'd like to welcome you all to the Forest Redevelopment Housing Authority Board of Commissioners meetings are held on the third Thursday of each month at 5 p.m. All meetings are conducted at PRHA's main office, 3116 South Street, Portsmouth, Virginia, 23707, unless otherwise noted. All members of the public are welcome. Before we get started, Commissioners, the Vice Mayor just brought to my attention that they already shut. Go ahead.
Yes, Dr. Patton, been in communication with Dr. Patton and her team with the fire department. They have issued a severe weather call for, it's supposed to be at around 6 o'clock. They've canceled Sunset Thursdays for tonight due to this inclement weather. So just wanted to make you aware of it. I don't know, what the agenda is going to entail, way past 6 tonight, but get as much as you can and try to get everyone in
It
safe.
sounds like we need to be out, it is 5 o'clock
Yes,
right
ma'am.
now.
So we gotta get business done as fast as we can. Because guess what? I want us to.
By 5:30.
I want us to have another meeting.
Right.
I would like to have another meeting.
Right.
So.
For that.
Yeah, they've been calling, it's between 4 and 10 is it expected, but
Gotcha,
they
yeah.
said at 6 it's supposed to be when it's supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with that being said,
So what?
I'm gonna keep on going. I just wanted to bring it to y'all attention.
I
Right,
know
board.
maybe just wanted certain things cut and just do most important, I don't know.
Madam Secretary.
All right, Commissioner Jiggets,
Present.
Commissioner Lalonde,
Yes, President.
Commissioner Morgan,
Here.
Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Washington,
Here.
Vice Chair Chapman, and Chair Smith.
Here.
We do have a quorum, excuse me.
Thank you. Approval of Commissioner minutes meetings May 16, 2019. Chair, need a motion? Hold on, I'm sorry. Before I even do that, the presentation for PRHA Investments by Ken Wren and Raymond James of Financial Services, Inc., Town Bank Investment Group.
I heed the warning, the weather warning, I will be quick.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to pass around a summary of the investments that we were fortunate to manage. But I'll start by just reminding you that we're bound by the state of Virginia institutional funds investment policy. So we can't buy shares of Alibaba stock and Facebook stock, and we can't do certain things that might bring more return, but they bring a lot of risk. So we're bound by basically by government-backed and/or guaranteed type investments, and/or those that are the highest credit quality. So if you flip page 2, you'll see a pie chart. Our portfolio is, you see the term investment grade. Investment grade just means good quality. Well, we have to stay at the very top of investment grade. Again, Treasury, State of Virginia, city, county backed, some sort of government entity backing, FDIC investments, and other high quality AAA, AA or better. So we're comfortably in that. What I will comment on is the three differences there in the shades of orange and brown: long, intermediate, and short maturity. We're in a historically low interest rate environment. We've been that way since 2009. I think I first predicted that interest rates were going to start to move higher, maybe in the second half of 2011. Hadn't really happened yet. It's dragged on for quite some time. We have seen the Fed raise rates a few times, and it made a difference. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But we continue to we do have some longer maturities, but we continue to focus more on the shorter maturity. What you don't want to do is lock in low rates for the rest of your life. I mean, you can buy a 30-year government bond right now today that pays a little over 2%. You can buy a 10-year government bond that pays less than 2%. Interestingly, we have a little bit of inversion in the yield curve right now. That means the shortest guaranteed Treasury type investments actually are yielding more than a 10-year. The 90-day T-bill yields about 2.1, 2.2 right now. The 10-year yields below 2. So there is an inversion in the yield curve at the moment. So we really want to stay on average short to intermediate, and that's what you'll see. We've got roughly 2/3 short and only a third longer term. That's going to weight us much more to the short and intermediate end. We don't know what interest rates are going to do. Yesterday the Fed did nothing. There were equal number of people that thought the Fed was going to cut rates again. there's no inflation, the economy's still growing. There was a lot of dissent, I guess, amongst the experts about what was going to happen. If you'll flip past, let's go to page 4 and then go through the holdings. The page 3 is just a summary, but page 4, we basically invest in two different things. We have invested recently in a group of CDs that are FDIC insured. We were able to go to if you start with the second name down, Ally, Morgan Stanley, Citibank, J.P. Morgan, Eagle Bank, First Bank. We're able to go to banks across the country who put out CDs every day, every week, every month, and find what at the time were the best rates. Our timing was pretty good with those because rates have been steadily going down since we did that. Some of those rates are fairly attractive at the moment. So you can see in the second to last column, you'll see a lot of 250s, 260s, 270s for the yields on those CDs, and those are essentially. I think our shortest one is just over a year to go, and we go out to almost 2.5, 3 years now. So we're pretty good now, especially when the market was expecting a rate cut yesterday. We didn't get it, but we also got some commentary that said maybe rate cuts are coming. So we're in good shape there. The others that we've done this for quite some time, are CMOs or REMIC, and basically to give that to you in simplest terms, these are baskets of mortgages. And so if everybody here threw their mortgage on the table and we found somebody to buy them all, you all would make your principal and interest payments to the owner, right? So the owner would collect the interest you pay, and then every month a little bit of principal is applied, and the owner gets the principal back. And so mortgages are collectively in large numbers are an investment because they have an income stream and they have a repayment plan, and they're collateralized. And what we own are also backed by government agencies. So the mortgages were guaranteed by a government agency. So the process is collect interest and give principal repayments. In any fixed income investment like we have, there's really kind of three things that we're worried about. We're worried about credit risk when you buy a bond, when you make an investment. Well, we don't really have credit risk because we have government backing. So we don't have to worry so much about credit risk. Then it becomes much more of an interest rate or a duration risk. And so, did we just lock in a low rate and rates are going up tomorrow? That would be a poor decision. If you knew, we don't ever know. So we've got it spread a bit, and then the direction that rates go inversely affects and impacts the value of what you've invested in. Because again, if I buy a bond today and I read in the paper tomorrow that same exact bond's now paying more, my decision's not going to look so good. That bond's not that attractive. And so if we had to go sell that bond, we might have to take a little bit of a hit. The movements in bonds are not like they are in stocks, however. The movements are glacial. I mean, you can't even see them move. They move so slow at times when you're talking about this quality. So basically, as you thumb through here, if you go past page 4 and on to page 5, that's when you start to see a lot of the mortgage backs. And if you follow with me on page 5, and if you look at the third line item down, it says GNMA. That stands for Ginnie Mae. REMIC is Real Estate Mortgage Investment Conduit. That just basically means that's a big basket of mortgages, thousands of mortgages all put together to spin off interest payments that you collect and principal repayments that pay your investment back. And so you'll see it says quantity 100,000, but if you see market value, it says 85,146. Well, why is that? Well, because they've been paying back principal.
I don't see that.
So on page 5, the third line item, Ginnie Mae, REMIC, and quantity 100,000,
Okay.
market value 85,000.
Okay.
We get interest payments, and if you go to the next to the last column and just go down that line, and you'll see interest rates from around 2% to well into the 4s as you thumb through this. It just depends on when these mortgages were taken out and how long they have to go as to the return that we get. So our yields are a little better on the collateralized mortgage obligations and the REMICs than they are on the CDs. But how are we going to get paid back? Well, we get paid back when people make their mortgage payments on time, and we don't know if somebody's going to sell their house and pay the whole thing off, or are they going to refinance and pay the whole thing off, and that happens. And so we just get steady principal. We mitigate that risk by not having one mortgage. There are literally thousands of mortgages inside every single one of these baskets. So you think about it, just this big box with thousands of mortgages in it. Somebody moved, sold their house, and paid their mortgage off. We don't have that payoff risk because we have thousands of them in there. Not everybody pays off their mortgage. So, because the worst thing that would happen would be that rates plummet, right? Everybody refinances, and we get all our money back. Now we got all this money, we have to go reinvest at low rates. So that's why having these baskets is an attractive investment. I will comment. Or let's go on to page 9. Every holding is listed there. I'm not going to go through every holding. So page 9 is our current projected cash flow. You will see that by the month, and that's based on the current holdings and the most recent payments. You'll see the 2 big months. Those are our CDs. Most of the CDs we bought paid twice a year. So you'll see we got 2 big months of cash flow. But over the course of the year, it's about $82,000, and I think when I looked at it, it's somewhere on average for everything around 260, 265 is where we are as of yesterday, and that fluctuates a tiny bit because of the mortgage payment activity. Any questions on those? Those are, again, mortgages are guaranteed by government agencies.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you say that you're not allowed to invest in stock?
Well, the Virginia Institutional Funds Act requires us to have safety of principal, and there is no safety in principal in stocks.
Right.
So we have to invest in things that have safety of principal.
This is for housing authority.
Correct.
So
Correct.
you can only invest.
Correct.
Sophia, return.
Is there any other instrument that you could have looked at to include in our investment portfolio?
You can invest in corporate bonds
Okay.
above a certain quality.
Okay.
You know, there aren't many really high quality corporates anymore. I mean, Standard &
Well-
Poor's rates the United States debt as AA, not AAA.
Ooh.
Now, the others still have it as the highest rating, but, so when you say, well, what about,
Amazon.
what about Amazon?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably a triple B. That's, so you go AAA, AA, A minus, triple B plus, triple B minus. I mean, there's a lot of rungs on the ladder to get to investment grade or above. And so, and the yields are just not worth taking that little bit of credit risk.
You don't think so?
The high quality corporates don't yield that much more than
What about some of the
treasuries.
ship
Or
repair?
CDs have been the better place for quite some time, better than treasuries.
What about some of the ship repairs corporates? What about them?
Again, you're not going to find very many AA or AAA companies that are going to give us a compelling difference in yield. We could buy the funds where they bundle them all up and they have an average quality and get a little higher yield. But what you don't have in a fund is you don't have a guaranteed maturity date where I get my money back. They're just perpetual and they fluctuate a lot more than the individual bonds will. So it's in my opinion, it's not worth the extra 20 or 30 or 40 basis points to take on credit risk because we could have a loss. We could have we could buy a bond of a single company and you could have a loss. It's not likely, but when you're in a fiduciary position, and look, when I read that Institutional Funds Act, I got to go to page 4 before I find something that's going to allow me to take risk, and I just don't think that's not worth it at this point.
But I thought that was the whole purpose of that act, was whatever you invested in had to be 100% guaranteed, or 100% collateralized, that there wasn't any risk that was supposed to be.
You can take, you can own bonds that are high quality, that don't have a principal guarantee. They have to be rated by 2
But what I'm
or 3 of the
saying,
agencies.
I thought the rules of engagement were.
Well, I'm sticking to the guaranteed principal.
Right.
Right. But if you read through, there are, you go down to number 8 or number 9 line item, and you can buy corporate bond funds that have average quality of this.
Got it.
That's hard to police because in a bond fund, they print what they own 4 times a year. You don't know what they own on February the 10th. They print on March 31st what they own.
You're showing 3.1 million is what you hold for us.
That's right.
Mr. Bland, what is the total investment that PRHA holds? If Raymond James has 3.1, who's holding the other investment?
We don't have that much other investment.
All of our investment is in Raymond James, other than a CD that we have as collateral.
But whatever this piece of paper was, I'm showing over 5 million. So what's the delta? I'm showing 1.048 in fixed income, 2 million from the Effingham sale,
What are you looking
2 million from the being held, that matures 2020, 2022, 200,000 in a bank deposit sweep obligation, 280,000 in the CD for the Holiday Inn site. So I'm showing more money here.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me this.
There's only the 2 million, they have the 2 million from the Effingham sale. And then there was an original 1 point some million that is from the public housing reserves.
So that gives us 3 million, which matches up with what Raymond James has, but I'm showing additional monies.
I mean, bank accounts, bank operating accounts, or?
That's-
I
that's-
can look
Yeah.
at it, I don't have that in front of me.
Can the rest of us have that?
I don't know where I got, I thought I got this mailed to me.
Yeah, that was mailed to all of you. One is a sweet. Remember- This one. Can I have your copy?
Yeah, I think it was, I just didn't bring mine.
All right.
And,
I guess we'll find out where the extra money's at, you know?
I'm just,
Yes.
I'm
Half a million
operating
here, half a
account.
million there, I'm with
The
that.
operating account has money, and then the investment money
Right.
is separate from that, which is what they handle for you.
At the time, Mr. Bland was we were putting this together to say that there was an initial investment in the accounts of 2 million.
Sure,
And then
sure.
it dwindled down through the flood and everything. And then we just recently put in 2 million from the Effingham sale. So I only know about the 1 million and the 2 million that is recently put in there.
What happened was when Swanson had the flood, the housing authority, before you guys came on the board, housing authority used some of that money to go ahead and get the Swanson units back up.
Yeah, I guess we'll get to that.
It says 2 million initial is what we
Right.
deposited, but
And then
as
it's
of
current.
that date,
Mhm.
it earned a little more, so now the balance is
Sure,
$2,330,000.
sure.
That's what it means. There's not an additional 2 million. So it's just probably the layout of the document.
Last 2 pages, I printed the chart just to show you the direction the interest rates have been going. So the first one was the last 12 months, and this is the 10-year Treasury. When you hear about what a rate's doing, the benchmark, what everybody talks about is the 10-year Treasury. And so you see it peaked comfortably above 3% back in October and November, and has just been steadily going down since. And so the flow has been to buy bonds, which drives the price up. Demand goes up, right? Price goes up, which means that the yield goes down. So the market is, this is the market saying we're expecting lower interest. We're expecting the Fed to cut rates because the market's trying to get out ahead of that. The Fed only impacts the overnight rate, but it trickles down eventually
That's
to all
right.
the other rates.
That's right.
So, and then I also include the 36-month chart, and you can see where we were 3 years ago, comfortably lower. So how low can it go? Well, we were at 140 3 years ago on the 10-year Treasury. So so if you own that personally, it's 140 taxable. So after tax, you're talking about 1 or 120. You all don't have the tax issue here, but inflation has been pretty consistently about 2%. So it's hard to even preserve purchasing power in a 10-year Treasury right now. But again, we've done a fair amount better. I'd like to think I was so smart back in 3 months ago, but your timing lined up with us getting a pretty good rate on those CDs and stretching them out for 1 and 2 and 3 years. So.
And from a staff perspective, who makes the decision
Yeah, that was-
to validate that this is what we want Raymond James to do? Is there an investment committee within PRHA that says, you got this $1 million, we agree, we concur, we don't concur? looks at what the quality of the instruments, and that's where we want to go with the maturity.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you just from my experience, because I started back with, for a long time with Scott Ponce, and the investment policy was to abide by the Virginia Institutional Funds Act. And then obviously to stay liquid. Everything we've got is liquid. If something that you didn't have on the agenda came up, we can convert this to cash in a matter of days.
Much like this $208,000 in the bank deposit sweep obligation, is that a checking account that we
That's
have?
the interest and, describe the interest and principal repayments.
Mhm.
They come in literally every week. Mostly they're bunched at the end of the month, but that comes in every month. And then as that adds up, we're able to then reinvest.
Because, again, I apologize, I only
Yeah.
know what I know, all right? I know that LGIP, which is with the state, and VAML, which is the state, which is, again, guaranteed 100%, is paying daily 2.43. So when I see a 0.8
Sure,
on
sure.
a daily
And
rate,
that's-
I have to look
yeah.
at it and say, okay, who's making that decision on a daily, I mean, obviously, longer term maturities, you have to do that. As you well know, $200,000.
Right, well, and again, it's the source of liquidity, immediate liquidity. No, we don't have to liquidate anything.
Well, so
We
is
don't-
LGIP
yeah, right,
and VML.
right,
They're-
right. Yeah, and I'm
they're-
not familiar
you
with
put-
those.
You put it in by 10 o'clock, you
Right, yeah.
you get the date, rate for that date, and you take it out the next day. So I guess, as far as the staff goes, who's the go-to person to say, hey, we got these other options available? Or is it, I mean, I'm just saying, is that why we got Raymond James to give us that advice?
Yeah, I mean, I can invest it in longer term,
Understand.
mortgage obligations, but on a
But-
daily
but-
liquidity.
But who do you give, who makes that decision on this, who makes the decision on this staff to say that's what we're doing? That's what, I haven't gotten an answer yet.
Yeah.
Or is it
I can only tell you from past experience, other housing authority I've been associated
No,
with.
right now, on this staff,
I'm-
today,
yeah,
who makes that decision?
Normally, it's always been your your CFO.
Well, is that who's making it?
We didn't know that one, did we?
Yeah,
That's all I'm asking. I just
I've
wanted
had
to
standing
mention.
instructions from day one.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
CFO.
so you said somebody, I've only been here less than 2 years, so how long ago have you been, many years, 10, 15?
Year 10.
10 years,
If I had
okay.
to.
Okay,
Yeah,
10
right.
years.
Right.
And so you have a standing letter.
And the communication is upcoming liquidity needs. You know,
So-
okay, we need this to go to this project, and we need to, either let the cash accrue because we're getting ready to take it out, or, you know what, we're gonna have to liquidate some stuff. And that hasn't happened very often. We've done that in the past too.
So I want to go back to Commissioner Lalonde's question. So when you have to make a decision, do you write a letter to somebody that they sign? Do you make a phone call to
Phone calls
somebody?
and or emails, right.
So over the last 10 years, who have you been talking to?
Whoever's in that position, I can't tell you how long
Scott?
Scott Ponce was in
Okay.
that position, a long time.
Who was it?
Scott.
Who's not here now?
And
Right,
do
that's
we,
what I
do we
thought.
have any document, other than a verbal conversation, that's all we know of this? those
I mean, he
visits?
provided me with the, with the investment policy and the fact that we had to maintain adherence to the Institutional Funds Act.
And,
Can I just say something?
Go ahead.
And the reason we have to leave it liquid like that is most of that money, well, aside from the 2 million that we just put in, is public housing reserve. So if something happens, we might need that money tomorrow, so we can't tie it up in a
And
lot of.
investments.
Right. And that, but the purpose of doing that one document was just to let you know that these accounts were set up 2 EDs ago and was.
Well, I don't wanna beat the dead horse. I mean, it looks like the investments are good investments. I'm not
Yeah,
questioning it,
like
but
it's so
I'm just saying, from a process standpoint, on the procurement side, if it's over $50,000 or whatever, you bring it to us, and we have 2 hours worth of discussion about buying a garbage truck.
Right.
But yet, when we have $1 million rolling,
Nobody.
we don't hear any discussion about it. I'm just trying to figure out what are the rules of engagement here? Given that we have a fiduciary responsibility as commissioners, just want to make sure where we're supposed to be plugged in at, that's all.
Maybe you
Okay.
review your investment policy.
And I think that's exactly right, Vice Mayor, I think we need to, yes, ma'am.
And we are also bound by the HUD.
I
What
got
we're
it,
allowed.
got it, I got that, and that's always gonna be the overlying rules, but
Yep.
when you don't know what the rules are, all right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I have another
Good question, yes.
Do you, provide, consultation advice to any other housing authorities?
Just Portsmouth.
Just Portsmouth?
Other,
Okay.
let's just call it nonprofit, I mean, hospitals, several hospitals.
Mhm.
Not-
And I guess what I'm
not
getting
government.
at, you know.
Our
I
firm
review-
does dozens and dozens in my
Mhm,
office in
mhm.
this area.
Yeah, and I understand everything you're saying. This is very conservative investment,
Sure.
very conservative.
Very.
And that's why I was trying to get at,
Mhm.
was there a way to put, you know, just a small percentage
Oh,
in
no.
something? Wait, let me finish my question,
No, how
please. Please let him answer, please, I have the floor. Into a percentage, into something that still complies with HUD and with the state of Virginia, that gives a little bit more return than this very, very conservative investment.
Well, it's
portfolio.
commensurate with the risk, I think, and
Meager.
so I don't think that it's.
You feel that this is the best that we can do?
And especially, I mean, I can't emphasize enough that that basket of CDs is yielding basically what a AAA corporate bond portfolio would yield, unless we went really long term, which I just don't want to do.
No, I'm not advocating
Right,
going
right,
long term. I
right.
just want to pull out of you
Right.
that this is the best.
My pockets are tight.
Yeah, because I like to see a
definitely hear what you're
little
saying.
bit,
I definitely hear what you're
little
saying.
bit of diversity.
It's hard to get excited about 2.6.
No, yeah, it's very hard.
But look, what you all do outside this room and the mission of the organization, there's risk every day. I mean, we just talked about flood, right? I mean,
It's coming.
Say that word,
so
flood.
there's risk every day. So when you have your reserves and you don't have a plan for them next week or next month or even next year, then we got to be conservative with the same as a small business owner. Small business owner, working hard every day,
Mhm.
wants to roll the dice with their investments, and you need to have some conservative. And in your case, you're bound by that Institutional Funds Act. The answer is yes, there are some additional things, but the additional yield is so tiny compared to the risk. I just don't see that we want to have to explain.
Okay, well, thank you.
If 2008 and 9 happened again,
Mm.
we'd have a lot of explaining to do because high quality stuff dropped in value sharply.
Mhm, yeah, I'm aware of that, but, okay.
So good questions though, and good observations. And you're right. It's just not there. I don't think.
Okay.
Going over
Thank
my
you.
time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Commissioners, before you have the minutes of May 16, 2019 minutes.
Have a second.
I had a correction. I know it's moved quick, but I have a correction. And I think it's only one, only one. Part of my statement was left off, Mr. Chairman. In terms of, Commissioner Washington stated that Robert's Rule of Order stated that there must be a unanimous vote before the vote can be changed, and we were talking about Mr. Morgan's vote. And I also stated that at my first board meeting, the chairman spoke clearly to the fact that we will follow Robert's Rules of Order and governance of PRHA as commissioners. And that part of my statement was left off, out of the minutes.
But you know they got their stuff before you did that, in there already.
Yeah, but I apologize that you
I mean,
did.
it's
How can I correct that? Because this is a typo in the minutes, and it's also on the video.
Amend the motion to accept the correction.
Can,
What, it was in the video, right?
yes, it is.
Oh, it's in the video, so the video is the
Stating
supportive
that.
document.
Well, if I may say something, according to Robert's Rule of Order, the minutes reflect what was done, not what was said. So what you have before you is just that was generally what you said. I don't have to put word for word what was done at a meeting. I mean, what was said at the meeting. It's just what was done, according to Robert's Rule of Order.
And I appreciate that. That's exactly, at this stage of the game, when we're talking about a significant issue about how this meeting is ordered. And the rule book, not to direct it at you, but to all of us, it states that our governance is by Robert's Rules of Order. And that in this meeting, it was established that we will govern ourselves in that way. To leave that out of this, I think, is significant.
Yeah. Particularly when you have the video to back it, you are not at liberty to just paraphrase it if it's an actual quote from someone. And it's gonna change the intent of what they're saying. I believe that's what you're speaking to.
I totally support you,
Yeah.
and also, if we don't have a sense of order, Robert's established, since I've been attending this meeting, up until the last meeting, the way I conduct myself and have a way to do the business for the PRHA organization. It's not anything goes, it's Robert's rules. So,
Point well taken.
so I want to, say that.
I'll withdraw my original motion and restate my motion to approve with the corrections as noted.
Second,
Madam Secretary?
All right, Commissioner Jiggets,
yes.
Commissioner Lalonde.
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yes.
Commissioner Washington.
Yes.
And Chair Smith.
Yes.
Thank you.
Old business. Cooperative agreement, PRHA and the City of Portsmouth revised March 28, 1956. Mr. Bland?
Well, I think I provided interpretation what was in the 56 agreement to our best ability. Karen, you want? Oh, you want to speak on that?
Yeah, basically, the cooperation agreement, which was noted in the summary, provided the overall terms for the city and the authority for the overall development administration of the properties, which at that time were Dale Homes, Swanson Homes, Jeffrey Wilson, and Ida Barber. And it pretty much, just gave all the, gave us opportunity, our positions to do elimination by demolition, condemnation, things of that nature, payment in lieu of taxes for the properties. So just the basic terms and conditions to develop those properties. That was the intent of the agreement overall. Any questions?
I have a question. And it, actually, I want to link into our outside legal counsel. And I just want to know, under what circumstances do we rely on our outside legal counsel to be of assistance to you as in-house counsel? I'm just, and was this an actual, since we have a contract with them?
So you mean in reference to this agreement?
Well, in reference to anything, because since I've been here, I have not heard us defer to outside legal counsel for any type of issue. And I was just wondering.
Stay on topic.
It is on topic because we're talking about a legal.
This though.
Yeah, I mean, it alert.
That right there, that right there, that right there, that right there.
Could the outside legal counsel have gotten involved in this particular document that you ended up reviewing and providing the information to us?
Well, I don't know
Is
what
that
happened.
Is that keeping it on copy? Okay.
Yes.
I can't speak to what
Okay.
happened when the agreement was initiated.
No, I'm talking about,
Okay, so I was only asked by my executive director to review it. He didn't ask anyone outside of myself to review it. And they determined, the
I was
executive
just curious.
main
how
on,
that-
what
How
I
y'all
do.
loop in on that,
Yeah,
okay.
but that's how it works. They, ask me to do whatever it is that they
Okay.
request. And any
Thank
outside
you.
counsel, that's their
Mhm.
decision. I just.
That's whose decision?
The executive director, the deputy directors, they determine what, who's gonna do what in terms of legal counsel.
Okay, thank you for that information.
And I
Commissioner
appreciate your comments there, and Vice Mayor, I don't know if you saw too, that Ms. James has offered that there's gonna be a meeting
Yes.
with the city attorney to
Right.
Yes.
So
further,
they can look at
further,
it.
Yes, and I
go
reached
over
out
these
to
things.
him,
I think
so.
and that's where it needs to happen.
Yes, I think
Yes,
so.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I know that we wanted to discuss it at the joint meeting, but we
Yes,
want
ma'am.
some work to go into that between
Yes,
the
ma'am.
two attorneys before we meet.
Yeah, the attorney is gonna be
Yeah, I
setting
reached
the
out to
meeting
him.
before, yeah.
Waiting to
There
set
we
or
go.
something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we need to.
Good job, thank you.
No, I'm listening.
Yeah, it's time,
Yeah.
I hear that,
Yeah.
it's time for,
And I even read
I
that.
think we're gonna have to schedule a special meeting.
Yeah, let's go schedule. I make a, can
Go
we
ahead.
make
Appreciate
a
that.
motion to schedule a special
Special
meeting?
meeting.
Because there are safety concerns now.
This is like a shelter though, isn't it? Underground shelter.
Yeah.
Is this considered- Do y'all have designation as an underground shelter? A designated underground shelter, that's what I'm asking.
It might
Came
pass
quick. They said it
over.
was gonna come quick.
Yeah.
Why did you say they went till 10 p.m. tonight?
Well, they said that's the time between briefcase for the last.
So, what do you guys do?
It's just hard rain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like this area, this area
I'm
called Fort Hart, right?
ready, all right, thank you, commissioners. The next order of business we have is, finance. Budget presentation for 2019-2020 fiscal year. Resolution 2019-26, resolution adopting consolidated assessment management project base operating budget for the fiscal year ended in June 2020. Shannon, you got the floor.
Good evening.
Hopefully I'll make it quick. Okay, so before you have the agency budget that pertains to anything that's substantiated by federal dollars before the beginning of our fiscal year. Fiscal year runs July 1st to June 30. This will end on June 30th, 2020. And so this incorporates, sorry. So we have our public housing. We have what we call the 7 AMPS, Asset Management Property or Project. And these are, 2 of them are our traditional public housing. With one of them, Lincoln Park, which is, everyone's aware that we're going through the demo dispo on that. And it should be vacated. So there is a little bit of variable as to what we could allocate. So these may change, and we are working with some consultants that we had coming in to help us reorganize some things in the finance department. And we met with Mr. Lalonde today. And so there is a chance that some of these numbers will change, and we can provide you with a budget revision. These don't take into account what we consider, like through HUD, is called our discrete component units, which are basically all of our partnerships because those are on a calendar year. And those we can address later in the fall. But those are pretty much governed by our, what they call the syndicator or the equity investor. They're the ones that really have the say-so as to the money. I have to get those approved through them as well. But for these ones, so basically HUD sends us incoming operating subsidy. And this year it's at a 97% proration. So that is the line, your operating subsidy. And for these 2 properties, you basically will have your offsetting expenses. For the 5 amps, again, this is just a vehicle for us to be able to bring in because we can't take that money and just put it over to those properties. So we had to set up what they call these amps on the books. And so we bring that money in and it goes basically right back out. And then it goes right over to those properties. COCC, this is slimmed down compared to what everyone else has been seeing, although we're kind of transitioning most of our activity over to what we now call the business activities because there has been some rumblings in HUD that they might consider federalizing the COCC. So we want to try to protect ourselves. We're strategically trying to protect ourselves better by moving most of it into this column that they really can't, but because it's agency-wide and it's part of PRHA, we included it on here. Last but not least is our Housing Choice Voucher Program, and this is just the admin-only portion. And on the little, insert that I gave you guys, I kind of like helped come up with some of the formulas. So like the incoming admin fee. So basically, what we did is we're in a really strong lease-up initiative right now. So I took 6 months of what we currently are at, and then we're hoping to put at least 250, could be possibly 500 between now and the end of June on the street. So these numbers can fluctuate, and again, we can do budget revision. So basically, you come up with like 23,940 unit months that they say, and HUD gives us for the first 7,200 unit months is $77.79, and then the balance of it is at $72.60, which does give you like 1.7 million, but they are at a tougher proration. It's a 79.569, so that only gives you the 1.4 million. All of the salaries, we have kind of set up a position control report to really allocate the salaries and benefits, strategically where they belong. We do have a couple positions in here that are vacant. There's one in Housing Choice Voucher, which is vacant, but we're considering the money because it could possibly be filled. And there's also one under the COCC, which is in the finance department, so we're hoping to get me a little bit of help. But there's a chance that we may not fill them right away within that fiscal year, so but we're at least considering those. Fees. So like, see if you see this line 775, that transfers up here to the COCC, so that ties. And Mr. Bland, I don't know if you will get a chance to explain it this time, but he was gonna basically explain to you how we kind of come up with them fees. Now, the only, these three here, we are showing in a negative, but just so you know, we do have some reserves, like especially with the HCV, we do have some HUD held reserves. It's a very small 2,000, but there's a chance that it could be a little bit more of it that we're gonna need to use. But strategically, right now, and HUD has a 2-year forecasting tool that they've really updated really well and enhanced this year. And so right now we're like at 16 million ABA, which is our budget authority, that's with the HAP as well. If we do this full leasing that we're hoping to, that's gonna put 19 million. So we're gonna gain 3 more million. So for that little bit of a loss, or even if it ends up being another 100,000, I mean, it's gonna be worth it to gain $3 million. So I just put it out there that we would like to present.
Commissioners, any questions?
I do. I think that answers my question from today when I met with Carol and Val.
Okay.
Because I focused on that housing choice vouchers, and I saw year to date, for expenses were over budget. And that was concerning me, and so they said to ask you, and then
Right.
they mentioned about the reserves.
Yeah, we do. We have unheld reserves.
Yeah, and so is that the way you normally approach it? Well, we got money in the reserves, or?
Not usually, but with the consultants that were here, we just, we've really talked that we really want to try to put, more vouchers out on the street and get it leased up a little to bring in more money. Not only will it help benefit the HCV program, but then that means that we earn more fees on our side to help cover. But I know I was kind of concerned about having a little bit of a negative or most people want to see either a break even or a profit, but my consultants were like, right. But these are, as we talked with Mr. Lalonde, yes, we have reserves. We do have a little bit of reserve in that investment account, even for like the COCC and something under the business management. We don't want to dip into it, but if there's some reason that we need to, and we are still aware that we do need to still make some cuts. I mean, we need to, look at all the expenses that we have coming in and try to downsize it.
Do you mind if going forward you include the line number items, line number on here like it is on yours? Like if you say, well, I'm on line 20 or whatever, If you could include this. Now, this information over to the far right, that is your descriptions of everything. Is that what you've done? What is that?
This here?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's just the same,
Yeah, you just
I
recapped it.
I
then
didn't
if
print
you
it out
could
so it
put-
fit it all
I'm
on the
used to
same.
accustomed seeing the line numbers, and then as you refer to in the presentation, then we can go there without,
Okay.
if it's not too much trouble.
I'll try to figure it out.
Thank you,
Yep, thank you.
thank you.
Commissioner Londa?
Yeah, just a couple things there to support Shannon, and I gotta tell you, I was very impressed with the discussions that we had this afternoon with the consultant. I just want to make the board aware that with the changeover of the auditors, it's giving the organization opportunity to relook everything and to re-examine everything and to re-question everything that they've done in the past, which is great. And it's not that the bottom line is changing. The bottom line isn't changing. Everything is accounted for that needs to be accounted for, but there's some ways you can, present it that makes it a little bit more sense. So I really appreciated that. A lot of discussion about the reserve fund. I mean, obviously, we keep our finger on the pulse because, if some emergency happens, that's all we have. So you always got to be very, very, very careful even when you have a small delta that you start eating into it because you hope that operations is going to do it. But as we make the transition from public housing to RAD, it's going to open up some opportunities for us financially that we haven't had before. So I appreciate where Ed is driving what we're doing. Also, we've asked the consultant to look at the way that we can present the numbers that make sense to us. I'm going to say lay people, me being a
Yes.
CPA, it's easy for me to understand stuff, but we need to make sure that all of y'all understand, hey, this is why we're doing this is what we're going through. So we've challenged the consultant who has a myriad of housing background, all right, to say, okay, these are the 20 metrics that ought to be presented every month. While we may want to see financials once a quarter, there's that interim time that we do have a responsibility to see some metrics, so they're working on that. The two other things, a lot of discussion, you heard Shannon just briefly say, hey, the partnerships or the limited partnerships are on a calendar year and we're on a fiscal year. That causes problems when you're trying to do accounting, when you have one half of your organization is on one side and the other half is on the other side. So Ed and the staff have a challenge to figure out, do we want to go to one? And we're going to have to, because you miss things. And again, it causes a lot of stress on the organization too, when you're having this 2 times you have to gear up to get financials out, and it's just not fair to the staff. The last one, and we've asked, and again, we'll kick it around with y'all's thoughts. I think it's important that at least once a year we have a half a day, a couple-hour retreat on finances. So there's a really, really deep dive, not just from the standpoint of looking at the budget, but to really go in deeper and say, okay, we got this number. To me, as a financial person, when you get a number, it's caused by something else in the organization. Something drove it. The procurement policy, the development policy, the RAD policy, something caused that number to do it. So we want to go kind of reverse. This is the number, and this is what caused that number to be that way. So you understand why Shannon is pulling her hair out, to make sure that the numbers match up. So I was very impressed with the consultant, having the 2 consultants that they have has been an absolute breath of fresh air, right? But also giving us some thoughts, and it does give you some thoughts on how better we can present the organization and have the good news stories that we really need to get out with what we're doing with finances. So Shannon, again, as I always do with you, thank you very much, and I can see the relationship that you have with everybody else in the team is pretty tremendous. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Londa. Commissioners, before you have resolution 2019-26, the resolution adopting the consolidated and asset management project-based operating budget for the fiscal year ending June 2020. Chair, do you have a motion?
So moved.
I thought 26 was on the roof replacement.
Yeah, it's, okay, wait a minute.
I thought 26 was on the roof replacement.
No.
Am I missing?
You gotta flip back in front of the tab forward.
In the agenda that was set out
I
before.
got 27, I don't see.
I second it. It's under it's right before tab forward.
You seconded, Chad?
Yes.
right?
You made the motion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you second, you know what I'm saying, okay.
Commissioner Jiggets,
Yes.
Commissioner
I
Lalonde.
abstain, because I still don't.
I'm gonna have
In
to-
front of the tab four.
That, it was paperclip, the packet that was sitting on in your
Yeah.
area,
You took it out your.
right there.
Oh, okay.
Look for the long page.
Yeah, I guess the one I got mailed to me said that resolution 1926 is the execution of the contract for Seaboard Square. It's on this one. So-
Yeah,
so
it's the,
changed?
yes,
Okay.
the,
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna abstain, because I
We're
haven't had
gonna
time to
go
read it.
back.
I haven't had time to read it.
okay, Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts, I'm sorry, Commissioner Washington,
Yeah.
and Chair Smith.
Yes. Next order of business is procurement. Lois, how you doing?
I'm good. How's everyone this evening?
Great.
Okay, I'm gonna talk real fast so we can get out for the next wave of storm. I'm here for, resolution, it is 1937, authorizing the execution of the contract for Seaboard Square roofs replacement. And it's between Corsa Redevelopment and Housing Authority and Starburst Constructions Incorporated. The invitation for bid, or IFB, was issued on May 2nd to replace the roofs of all 56 buildings in Seaboard Square 1 and 2. And this also includes the rental office community center. And we're replacing the 3-tab shingles that are currently there with architectural shingles. The 3-tab shingles that are currently there cannot withstand winds above 60 miles per hour. Architectural shingles can go up to 110 miles per hour, and they have a longer warranty, 30 years or more. I think the shingles that have been spec'd have actually a limited lifetime warranty. Back in the fall, our insurance company did a building by building assessment out in Seaboard 1 and 2 because there was roof damage. We had claims for roof damage, so they actually came out and looked at every building, inside and out, over at Seaboard. 50 of the 56 buildings had some type of roof damage due to recent storms. On their claim forms, they actually listed it as hurricane in both cases. To prevent reoccurrence of this in the next 5 to 7 years, because we know these shingles on these roofs can't withstand these strong winds we get, we made a decision to replace all the roofs with the architectural shingles that are rated to withstand the high winds that we would get when we have our tropical storms, hurricanes, and nor'easters. The insurance company has, they issued us a payment of about a little over $309,000 based on, after they did all their, their depreciation deductibles and all that fun stuff. And so the winning bid came in at $594,000 from Starburst Construction LLC, which is a company out of Norfolk, Virginia. Because we had bids come in at the end of May 30th, and they, although they were not the lowest bid, they were the lowest responsive and responsible bid. And that is something that we have to look at when we're looking at bids. And responsive means that the bidder responded to your solicitation as you asked them to. They provided all the documents, they provided documentation, they filled out the paperwork correctly.
That's right.
Responsible means they can actually do the job. And when we did a responsibility review of our current low bidder, they were not able to provide us with the documentation to show they could do the job. Their references indicated that they'd done some residential units, that of which I think it was a $6,000 job was the largest they had. They did have one commercial job, but we were unable to verify that through the references that they provided. We couldn't contact anyone that could give us information on what they did. And I actually contacted the vendor and asked them, for some information, such as additional commercial experience, if they had, financial information, because we need to be able to know that they can financially support this job, as well as some other information, the organization chart, what kind of staff you have. Do you have the people available to do the job? And I had no response from them. So, in my book, that means non-responsible.
So they didn't have the bonding.
They had a bid bond, they did not provide, they don't have to provide a payment and performance bond until they are awarded a contract. So I don't know at this time if they were able to be bonded, because the bid bond is only 5% of the bid amount. So so this resolution is to go with Starburst. I was hoping that they were able to provide the information, because our intention was to award it to multiple vendors. But Starburst is a fairly large company. They have extensive local, state, and federal government experience. They had jobs up with well over $1 million. So they have lots of commercial work. And their price was 8% below our independent cost estimate that we had, that came in about $650,000 to $700,000, depending on what number we were using as to per square. That's what how you did roofing. Starburst worked with Norfolk State, the Hampton School Board, ODU, and lots of jobs for the Navy. And all the references came back pretty good. They were either 9s or 10s when we asked them to rate them. So we recommend that you select that you approve the resolution to Starburst so that we can begin the Seaboard Square job, because we're trying to get this done before the end of the year, because we know we're right into the hurricane season.
We're in it.
We're in it. June 1st was the beginning of it. And we know there's gonna be additional damage done to these roofs. So we want to get them repaired.
Commissioner?
I have no objections. Just curiosity question. I think you suggested that you wanted to offer this to a variety of multiple, which I think is a grand idea. Is it too late to do that, or?
And Starburst too.
Yeah, is it?
At this point,
It is too
we
late.
The other vendor that we got was way out, just like the first vendor was way out of the line. We call it unreasonableness of a bid. The one vendor was way out of line.
I get that.
Low end. The other vendor was out of line on the high end.
So how do you get there
How do you
to multiple?
At this point, we're not doing multiple vendors. We do have another option if we find Starburst is unable to do it in a time. They actually, their timeline is actually shorter than what we gave them. We gave them 5 months. They think they can do it in 3 months. But if we find they're unable to do it, because we don't know what the weather's going to be, and we currently have a roofing contractor under contract that we can provide some of the units to, some of the buildings to. Excuse me.
Okay. And the last question, how old is Seaboard?
Seaboard was built in 2009, 10, 11. It was built in 2 phases.
210, so 10 years old, and you can only get, the roofs have depreciated. I guess they weren't like 10-year roofs or 15-year roofs.
Well, they weren't, the problem is they were 3-tab shingles. 3-tab shingles probably should have never been put on these buildings.
Okay.
Because they're not, they can't hold up. Mike can answer this.
You want me to answer that? So around 2004, the state of Virginia adopted the 2003 International Building Code. And under the building code, it set up wind zones, and the city of Portsmouth is in a 110-mile-per-hour wind zone. To answer your question, 3-tab shingles should not have been put on, but this far out,
We can't do that.
there's nothing you do about it except for to correct it.
We can't go back against the roofer for putting on the incorrect time.
Because we had a site manager,
It was passed off by the city, by everybody. So
Oh,
as far as
city
the
inspector signed off on it.
Yep, said it was
Everybody
perfect.
did, yeah, so at that time, so the capital contractor would build over the contractor responsibility.
I have a question, still going back to the smaller, I guess, contractors who, is there any way legally to just encourage Starburst to maybe work with them underneath their contract, or is that considered
We can't do
quote,
it.
not kosher too?
Because then they will be responsible for the work of the other contractors.
I mean,
at
if they
this
can
point.
get bonded,
And at this point, we can't tell them
Can't
who
guarantee
to
that.
subcontract theirs
And if this
to?
contractor will be a good contractor too,
Right.
so, because we just don't know. We haven't received.
Are they a minority contractor, Starburst?
No, they're not. They're a small contract, but they're not minority.
They're not minority, but they would be encouraged to try to subcontract to other minorities or small business contractors under them, is that correct?
They said they're not gonna hire any subcontractors. They
They're gonna do
are
all the work
interested, what they
themselves.
will do is, as part of their bid, they did include a section 3 plan. They intend to hire,
Local,
yes, 7
Mhm.
section 3,
that's good.
on the crew, and they're gonna offer training opportunities to three residents.
Mm-hmm. 3 residents.
Yeah, they're actually in, because wherever, they're located out of Norfolk, but they're in
Okay.
the, empowerment zone in Norfolk. So they said they always do that because they know the benefits they can get,
That's
tax
right.
benefits.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Commissioners? Great work, Delon. Thank you for all you do. Commissioners, before you have, okay, get this right.
What's that?
Resolution 2019-27. Resolution authorizing the execution of the contract for Seaboard Square roof replacement between Port Redevelopment Housing Authority and Starburst Construction LLC. Chairs need a motion.
So move.
Chairs need a second.
Second.
Let's move properly second, Madam Secretary.
All right, Commissioner Jiggets,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde.
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Washington.
Yes.
And Chair Smith.
Yes. Next item, housing nothing, and then we have development.
If I could, just on housing, Housing Committee met at 4 o'clock, so, and Carol and Val did a tremendous job bringing me up to speed, but one thing to bring the commissioners up, we're sitting right now at about 1,800 vouchers that we have families using. About a year and a half ago, that number was about 1,400, and we're looking at potentially by the end of the year being at 2,300. That's 1,000 additional families that this organization has now been able to house, and I think that's a tremendous effort by the staff. And Carol, I just want to say thank you, and the coordination that you and Val do, it's just great. But being able to get those vouchers, being able to support those vouchers financially, account for them, I mean, it takes a lot of work to do that. So 1,000 additional families in the last year and a half, that's amazing.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Londe. Next item, number 8 is development. There's a closed session? All right, yes, ma'am. Human resources, nothing, reports, citizen reports, Mr. Bland.
Commission, in your package were the submission reports, so you're reading. Any questions, comments on that report?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just a couple 12, all right? I saw that you had a job, there was a job fair or whatever for Swanson. Do we do that regularly for Dale? Where there was a job enhancement thing for Swanson, and I was just wondering if the same opportunities would be given for Dale homes. Let me see where it was. Under the,
You're talking about the job.
job developer, yeah, the Amazon informational assessor in need of employment.
That's what, it was held in Swanson, but it
So,
was for all
okay,
residents.
okay. You're working, again, just to be who I am here, you're working a lot with the Girl Scouts. Are we
Yes,
doing the
they
same?
came back up, they have been a long-term partner about it, they came back. and they
How about the
were real
boys? Are
positive.
we doing anything with the Boy Scouts?
The Boy Scouts are a difficult thing to crack, somebody knows, cause we've been trying for years to get them to come in, but they work mostly out of churches. It seems to be that's where a lot of their troops are established, but we have not been able to get them to, work with us. Cause we've been trying for years to get an MOU with them, so they can work with our young men.
And then under your section there, Mr. Glenn, there was a meeting in Vermont that you had to attend for the insurance company?
I'm sorry, I said that again, please.
Under the meetings that you attended,
Mhm.
there was a meeting in Vermont that you had to attend?
Yeah, that was a housing insurance, that's the insurance company that we are with. They have a national meeting. I remember back early fall last year, I gave the board a copy of the letter where I'm on the finance committee.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okey-dokey.
And just to add to that, I put a nomination in for Shannon to go on the finance committee for the insurance company too. So that
So we'd have
include-
two of y'all going to Vermont?
Well, what happened, actually it's reimbursement free, they reimburse, but what would happen is each housing authority, that's a member of the insurance industry, can have two employees. But the two employees can't be on the same committee. So I would move to another committee and let Shannon, since that her expertise, go on the finance committee.
That can only happen if you all bring back some Vermont syrup. Yes, sir. The best, yeah.
That won't be a hard job to satisfy. That's everywhere.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I was going to remarks, are you ready? All right, Mr. Bland?
Oh, during the month, I had sent you out a lot of correspondence, any questions, because what I try to do is, like I said before, send you out correspondence, so at the board meeting, you won't get a whole lot of stuff at one time. And I do appreciate you being patient when we sometimes take a little long to get the stuff, information back to you, but we try to get it back to you as quick as we can on any concerns that you may have. Any comments, concerns from those correspondents from any of you?
Just wanted to lead it together. You sent the note about the active shooter training that y'all are doing, and I know we had talked extensively about safety of the public housing. That training's being offered to the people in housing also?
We will be following up after the employee have the training. We're gonna reach out to the same trainer to see if we can do it at our various communities. And keep in mind, when we do it, we can't make it mandatory for the residents to come.
Understand.
Yeah, it's volunteer if they choose to come to that type of training.
But it's nice to at least put it out there, so at least the residents know that we're concerned. I mean, that's the issue, show that we're concerned. Yeah.
In addition to the residents, obviously our concern is for right here at South Street. And when I sent you the email about security, and you indicated that you are in the process of looking at security, obviously my concern is that for the employees here at South Street, when you take into consideration what happened in Virginia Beach, I'm very interested to know what the security audit found in terms of recommendations, i.e., I'm a strong proponent of the metal detectors, particularly for the employees to be coming into a separate entrance. Since in the state of Virginia, the public cannot be prevented from bearing arms coming into a building, but employees, and that probably is your policy now, I'm going to assume, but obviously if we had the metal detectors for the employee entrance for this building, that would be what I would strongly recommend we take a look at. I don't even know if, I know this door at the front, coming in, it's like coming into Fort Knox, and that's great, but do you actually have what they call a hot button at the front desk? Does it have a hot button?
We do.
Okay, so then my concern again is for the employees being able to have an entrance that they come in where they would be checked to make sure that they come through without any arms that they have. And obviously, it has nothing to do with distrust, but everything to do with security and protection for the employees here at South Street.
The only thing I can tell you at this moment, I do have, the person from the security of the police department gonna come over and do a
Audit.
security checkpoint on our building here
Mhm.
to give us some suggestions or ideas,
Okay.
whatever. But going back to what you said, metal detector, metal detector is two-pronged. Also, you would need a human body as part of that metal detector. So, and right now, when I go through the budget, when I'm going through today, we don't have that kind of money, because not just the metal detector, then you gotta have a person there too. You know, 'cause when you go through a metal detector, there's always a person there too. Like if you go into the courthouse down, there's a metal detector they have, but then there's a person there too who is, you know, had to monitor that.
Well, you're absolutely correct, but with some advances, I think there are other options that work in sync with that. So once you have the expert to come, I'm sure they can share with you how that can fold into the way you have your staffing now. So the thing is, you know, to take the proactive step to see if the employees here at South Street are under the best protection.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I think we also received, I didn't bring it with me tonight, I apologize, the lawn care, letter, and I reviewed it, and if I remember correctly, I think it suggested that we provide lawn care for our properties maybe once every 3 weeks or once a month on the high end of things. But what I liked about it, it says, but we can call back the contractor as needed. So if we need to do it 2 times a month, which would be the medium range, and the high range, from the way I read it, would have been 3 times a month, which would probably not be necessary, except with all this rain that's going on right now with us. So one of the concerns that I would ask if, when we review that, or how are we gonna review that, or do we get to make inputs into that in terms of that information for lawn care, or grass cutting, or maintenance of properties?
I think right now we have the contract in place. I don't remember the
Yeah, she
expiration
sent it.
date on
Don't
that.
sent it on it.
It was sent out to us.
Yeah, I think this is their second year. We did that last year.
I don't have,
So they have a couple more years to go.
I don't have any problems with the information. I thought it was very good information. I just was saying that the way it's spread out is once a month, and cutting grass in this area once a month, it gets really, really high. And it says it can be allowed as high as 10 inches.
No, her contract says 7 inches.
Yeah, we do 7.
Yeah, we do 7, but the city
allows 10.
10.
We don't allow 10.
Yeah.
So,
We
oh
keep
my
it at 7, but the
goodness.
code says 10.
Yeah.
And if it's, like we have periods of more rain, we have them cut more frequently. However, we do have a 3-week, they do a 3-week cycle.
Right.
But if needed, we'll call it out
Call for
before
it.
then. We have somebody that's monitoring our lots, especially in our infield lots. So they go out and verify that the lots are cut, or if they need to be cut. If we need to call them back out there, we will.
So even with that 7 inches, 7 inches is kind of high too, but I
Yeah,
mean.
depending on the rain and things.
Yeah, and particularly in this particular time. So I would just say, I thought that was a good piece of work you're doing, and I wanted to commend you for that. And that's as needed, so we can keep our wonderful citizens satisfied with what we do.
I would just piggyback and say just this. As the contract comes up again for renewal, there might be a better grass that you can seed with, that as it grows tall, It actually looks better. You know what I'm saying? It's a tighter seeded grass, and so I just throw that out there for the next contract. Because appearance is everything when it comes to grass, and that can sort of help undercut. So a 7-inch with a beautiful type of grass. Looks like a carpet and not scraggly, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Commissioners, any other comments, Commissioners?
Just one of, the state and the city will be closed the day after the 4th of July, so we will go ahead and piggyback off of that for our staff.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna take the day off too. I'm gonna follow your example. Thank you. Wait till I tell my wife.
I had made the suggestion to Chair Smith and Mr. Bland a few months ago that I thought it was a good idea to schedule a board retreat to discuss several things, but including mainly including the mission, what the board would like to see, the goals and so forth for the authority. We talk a lot about different activities, but since I've rejoined, I have personally felt that we don't have a clear mission, and I would like to provide that mission, or at least a guide to it. Again, we're term limited, so we're here 8 years, and the staff is here for hopefully ever. And so you can't be but so specific in that, but I think, discussing the role of the board, how we can best help the staff accomplish their goals, I think is a healthy exercise. So that was the request, to try to set up a time to do that. And whether it would be before a meeting, whether it be, it's totally up to, anybody.
Board members, what's your availability?
For me, not July, not August.
Not all.
Not July, not August?
No.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes,
Sure.
If you could at least try to have it before we have a joint meeting with the city.
Which is
And I think that
October.
meeting is in October
Yeah.
with the city, so I think this way then you will have something going forward as part of your joint meeting with the city.
Tie the two things together.
Well, and I would also suggest, being that, the timing is an issue, I might suggest that we pick one of the dates of our board meeting and set it to be 2 to 3 hours before. I don't think we need to have it all day, I think something like that, but that way we're already planning on meeting. And just add a couple,
So meeting before the meeting?
yes, sir.
You plan, are you recommending here or off-site somewhere? What is?
I would imagine it'd be here.
Have to take a leave.
And you already have meetings before the meetings, don't you?
We'll
Yeah,
accommodate
Jeff,
whatever needs to be. It's not an off,
That's good.
brief kind of thing.
So you
Put it
could,
on the floor.
you could do it in July then, because that's your standing board meeting,
I
or
can't,
August.
Not for July, for me, and not for August.
You wanna be here for our standing meeting in July?
I'll be here for the standing meeting, but then remember, before the meeting, I'm in Boston. And then after the meeting, some personal things going on, and then in
Understand.
August
Respect.
too, yeah.
What I'm asking you is like,
That's why
we're gonna do it the day
September.
of the meeting.
No,
Are
I'm
you-
saying if September would be good.
I'm asking you, are you gonna be here for our meeting in July?
July, I'm supposed to be, yeah,
So
July,
you're gonna
I'm
be
here
at
for
that
the
July
meeting.
meeting? We're trying to do it before the meeting.
Before
Like,
before
before the
the
actual
meeting in
meeting.
July.
The
We're
day
retreating,
of
we're gonna run
The
right
day
into our
of the
meeting.
2 hours, 3 hours before the meeting.
I get that now, yeah,
Okay.
I hear you, I hear you.
Can you do that? Is the
We'll see,
question.
we'll see, yeah.
Because I thought I heard you say you're gonna be flying into town, so you wouldn't be available.
No, July the
first
11th,
meeting.
13th, so before,
Okay.
the next week is the meeting. I think, isn't it,
Correct.
at least, I got, you gave me the package, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it, 11th to
Yeah,
13th.
what we can do, we can just go ahead and send out, have Lisa send some out, saying the retreat would be prior to the same day of the board meeting, but just a couple, other words, your board meeting is normally at 5, so maybe you could do the retreat starting at 1 o'clock and we could provide you for lunch as part of that, or starting at 2.
Yeah, 2:30.
2 o'clock.
I don't.
Yeah.
On
I
the
think some
same
of it
day.
is, again, we understand that, I don't think we need to take half a day.
Yeah, 2:30.
Or we have an outside facilitator? I mean,
And,
see, if we're gonna do a retreat, let's do it right. Let's not do a knee-jerk retreat, let's do a solid retreat.
yeah,
And a solid retreat, you will have an outside facilitator,
just,
so.
And we could provide one, we could get
Well,
somebody.
what do you call that we had in February?
That was, February, but that just,
That Saturday?
over.
that was work to
Where we had it
move the
here?
work.
No,
At
in
the
February.
bank, at the bank.
No,
No, we had it
with
here.
the
It was
lady
supposed to be
running
at the bank,
train.
then we had it here.
That was just, commissioner training, board training.
Commissioner
Oh,
training,
okay.
Yeah, that was just board training, yeah. It didn't have anything set, as Commissioner Morgan just said, setting your goals and objectives and what you want to accomplish.
So, but we're gonna
Right.
review what we currently have,
Correct.
because we do have
Things in place.
things in place. If we just reviewing that or focusing that, that's okay with me. I just don't, I'm okay with that. Unless you can, because,
Ms. Blaine, may I make a suggestion that, maybe we get with Cindy and see what her availability is at one of our board meetings? Okay. You wanna facilitate?
Yeah.
Think?
We could do that.
who is,
One of the consultants that we
One of
have.
the consultants that we have.
Yes.
In fact, Cindy Herrera probably could be the facilitator for the retreat.
who is Cindy?
So let me check with her
Who
tonight,
is she? Yeah. that's a good
and
question.
we can send your email out. We can get something out to you next week if we have that person available for prior to the start of the July board meeting, or no later, say prior to the start, but the same day of the August board meeting, one of those, since you're here anyway.
Yeah, who is she? I don't know.
She was a financial advisor that you met, that talked to MTW.
Oh, okay.
Right. And she had worked with many housing authorities and did that.
That might work, because she knows the direction we're
Right.
going in.
Anything else, Commissioner? Okay. I don't have anything. God bless you all. Public speakers, PRHA allows up to 5 minutes to speak. Okay, do we have any? There be none. Are we in, we in close? Gotcha. All right, okay. Commissioner, before you have resolution
I didn't count.
2019-30, the resolution of intent to meet in closed meeting. Whereas the Virginia Freedom of Information Act provides that the Board of Commissioners can meet in a closed meeting for the discussion of consideration, disposition of public held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body as set forth in section 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia as amended. The matters for discussion are 1402 Hamilton Avenue, Seaboard Commons, and 818 County Street. Whereas the Virginia Freedom of Information Act provides that the Board of Commissioners can meet in a closed meeting for consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff pertaining to actual probable litigation where such consultation or briefing, an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body as set forth in section 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia as amended. The legal consultation briefing pertains to property litigation matters. Now therefore be it resolved that in compliance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and the above referenced sections of the Virginia Code, the Board of Commissioners shall reconvene in a closed meeting on June 20th, 2019 for the discussion of and the disposition of publicly held real property A3 and proper litigation A7. Madam Secretary. Chair has need of a motion to go in closed session.
That means. Second.
Moving properly second, Madam Secretary?
All right, Commissioner Jiggets,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Washington,
Yes.
and Chair Smith.
Yes. Take a quick recess. Get your